There's only one way, and that's up.
Hey everybody, we are live. It's the Green Umbrella live lunch, Thursday, 12 noon. Where are we? We are on the Green Umbrella Facebook page. We're on my LinkedIn. We're on YouTube, and hopefully everything's working wonderfully. And we're just waiting for the delay to kick in. I will admit, we were already having so much fun. I almost forgot to hit the button. We were just like in flow, chatting away. Well, so this week on Live Lunch, we have a guest. We have the fantastic Mr. Stephen O'Donnell, who is a long-time friend to Green Umbrella Marketing. So, Stephen, lots of people within the recruitment world know of you, but our audience extends beyond that. So, give us the intro you wish I'd given you.
He's a muscular man. He's a handsome man. He's if not rich in cash, but rich in network. So I've been in recruitment since I was, I think, 7.5. So about 33 years now, and was starting in agencies for a long time, owning and running recruitment companies, and then started a website which was essentially a portal to every job that was advertised on the internet. So every employer, agency, job board, and so on. And through that came the National Online Recruitment Awards. So I run the National Online Recruitment Awards. This will be the 21st year, and most people know me on account of that. But also in the past 20 years, I've been working with employers, job boards, agencies, helping them with technology, with startup companies, and in recent years, doing a lot to do with video technology. Did a lot with Video My Job for a while, and a lot with online events. And weirdly, in the past year, that's kind of pivoted where I'm doing events for companies outside of recruitment. So whenever the Miss America Foundation have an online event, I'm the person behind the scenes making it happen.
So how did you get that gig? That's one of my questions for you. Everything else you do, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm doing this for the Miss America Foundation. I was like, hold on a minute.
Well, it was really just it was a recommendation. Someone pointed them in my direction, and they were doing events on Crowdcast, and I'm pretty active in the Crowdcast Facebook group, so it had come through that. But most of the events that we do now are not on Crowdcast. Well, there's a kind of crisscross of events in Crowdcast on Zoom and various other platforms. So, but I can say now that I'm now on talking terms with, I think, 13 or 14 former Miss Americas. Dating back to 1948, I should say. So they're not all in their prime.
I'm not sure you can say that, Stephen.
You know, though, the thing about these women, and so they're all extremely sharp, very clever, great in front of camera, and pretty technologically switched on. So when you ask them to pad for 5 minutes, they can talk about any subject. We were doing an event just about a month ago, and it was to do with the foundation has bursaries or grants that they give to women to go and study medicine. So it was all about who was going to be awarded the funds to go and study medicine this year, and they had a number of former contenders who were now doctors. So a lot of people have preconceptions about Miss America Foundation, and it's really always been about empowerment for women. They don't do any of the the bikinis and stuff anymore, but it's always been about women having their own choice in life. Dating right back to, well, I think this is the 100th year, so there's a long history of it, but it has evolved over that time as well. So it's very much not what you think it might be.
Fantastic.
It's not a beauty pageant, it's a scholarship program, in the words of Sandra Bullock in Miss Congeniality.
Miss Congeniality. I was going to ask that question, but I thought my question to Stephen shouldn't be, have you seen Miss Congeniality?
It's a great film.
It's a great film.
Perfect.
I think I like Sandra Bullock in anything. She's brilliant.
Yeah, she's very good. Very good.
Awesome. Okay, so let's jump into the heart of it then. So the reason that I wanted to get Stephen on to Live Lunch, and I kind of waited until I felt that our level of confidence was at a place where we wouldn't crumble afterwards. So Stephen, like in my little world, Stephen is like king of the live stream event. When it comes to all the bells and whistles and the getting people on and off the virtual stage and all that kind of thing, it's Stephen's who you want in your corner.
Thank you very much.
So I'm ready. Give us the critique. How do we make Live Lunch better? Or what are the things that we're doing well that actually people miss? And yeah, give us a few tips.
First of all, the thing that you do really well is, so on this platform, you've got it fully branded. You know, you've got the logo in the top left corner, you've got the names on everyone. And more importantly, you've got a bunch of people on screen who are all ready to step in and, you know, say their piece. So the main thing in any show is the people that you have on screen. The technical bells and whistles are just helping to make it look a bit slicker. But if you've got people on who know what they're there for and have got something to say, that's almost everything. The other stuff is literally just window dressing. It's nice to be able to do the fancy slick things, but any event that there is, if you've planned in advance, if you decided, right, this is the format, these are the people, this is the things that we're going to be speaking about, and we might go off track, but we're going to have a bit of fun doing it. And everyone knows in advance, right? Look at the camera, you know, have your microphone working, Emily, and more than anything, have a bit of a laugh with it, because there's nothing bores the pants off of people more than someone on screen just droning on and looking at the screen, not looking at the camera. I've got little googly eyes on my webcam to make sure that I focus on the camera and not on the screen.
I never
Googly
look at
eyes,
the
that's the future.
That's two things I've obviously fallen down on. My microphone not working, and I'm still not looking at the camera.
No, I don't either. I look at you lot.
I find it really I feel like if I'm looking up there, so this is me looking at the camera, am I now looking at you? Where am I looking?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
And if you're looking right at the camera, you can freak people out.
Thing is, I'd probably get it wrong. Everybody looking up my nose.
Yeah. I did work with the company Video My Job, and they had an iPhone app that you could use to record, you know, video job adverts, that sort of thing. But of course, in the app, what you're doing is you're looking at the screen where there's a teleprompter that tells you what you're supposed to be saying. But there's also the camera on this side is here. So if you look closely, it seems that the person's looking at a little bit off. So they're a little bit cross-eyed. So there's a trick to reading whilst looking at the thing at the same time, and trying to not get it right. But it's closer than what you would do if you were recording on your screen. You had a teleprompter on screen where you're doing this thing. So what I've got to help me whenever I'm recording anything that I want a teleprompter for, I've got a separate camera set up here. So this camera here is actually in a teleprompter unit. And for the teleprompter unit, what I've got is I've got a spare phone with a teleprompter app in it, so that can run the text of what I want to be talking about, and I'm looking directly into the camera. So the teleprompter is what, £35?
Wow.
Okay, that teleprompter I've just scribbled that down, because some people, when they do, you know, they do pieces to camera, they're so natural and it's just all off the cuff. Yeah. I do work better with a script, and some people kind of go, I can't do script, it doesn't sound natural. But I find personally it works better. But I didn't know you could get kind of like, can you get an app for it? Is it what do you use as a teleprompter?
Let me just get the app in front of me here. So PromptSmart is the app that I have, and if I open this up, so what you would see on the app is this. So that's reflected onto the beveled glass on the teleprompter camera up there. And so I'm looking at that. It also works with it. It hears your voice and it scrolls according to your speaking. So it knows where you're up to in the script. Wow. The app itself for that, I think, is £20.
What did you say it was called, sorry?
PromptSmart. So people often freak out when they see that an app costs more than 79p. But in the scheme of things, if you're buying something for business and it's £20, it's money well spent. And in terms of having, and it might not be the full script. It might just be pointers, you know, things to remind yourself to, you know, what to say. But it stops you doing this the whole time. And every time you do that, you disengage from the person watching. And you have to always think when you're on camera, the person that's watching, they're doing it on their own. They've got their headphones in, and you're talking directly to them. So you have to think of the audience of one the whole time. For any marketeers out there, the audience of one is basically speaking directly to the person. And if they've got the headphones on, you're literally in their ears. So if you're between someone's ears, that's pretty intimate, and you should be looking at them and talking directly to them.
I think I need to take your tip, Stephen, about putting the googly eyes up here. I just find it so unnatural. I guess it takes a bit of practice. I keep looking up now thinking it's really hard.
I'm gonna take a picture and show you what the googly eyes look like. Okay. So I've just taken this picture now. So that's my webcam.
Oh, cool.
So I've got little hands and the googly eyes, so I know that I'm looking at the thing.
That's good.
Love it.
I need to do that.
I mean, the teleprompter thing it's just awesome, because I've done, like, literally, I've got their notes for a webinar that I did a couple of weeks ago. Like, literally, that they were my talking points. And I've done things as well where I've had like bits of paper and then use like gaffer tape and paper cups to like put something over right next to the so But I find when you're doing something, it's just like a webinar, something like that, it's much easier to look down the lens of the camera. But stuff like this, where it's a group and it's more conversation, like panel things, stuff like that, it's really tough to kind of keep your eye there, because especially when you're not talking, you're constantly, like, I always joke and say it's always about me. I'm constantly checking myself out, basically. So, do I look interested enough? Do I look like I'm zoned out? Or
the biggest distraction when you're on a Zoom call or any other call like this is you see your own face. And what I often do is I'll get a Post-it note and I'll stick it over myself, so I'm not seeing my face just distracting me. The other thing is that when you've got 6 people on the screen like this, then you often get someone who's fanning about on their phone, or doing something else, or looking over at another screen. And whenever there's calls like this, you sometimes think that other person's, when you've got webinars of, people talking this, that, and the other panels, and someone looks bored to tears, and you think, oh, what? Just close their camera, shut it down. But if you've got everyone involved, then, it's great. For the audience, it's brilliant when you've got, I'm talking too much.
No, not. I'm like, and I'm getting distracted because I've just had a text from my daughter who sat at home with the baby watching, and she's just texted me to say how interesting you are, Stephen. So big thumbs up for you from my eldest. But also Jonathan has, he's on LinkedIn. So John from JobViddy, and he's just commented as well about you're always so well presented. But
I thought I would make the effort.
Well, this ties into the conversation we were having just before, because it's like you've got the ABC, right? Always be closing. And you've got ABR, always be recruiting. But you've introduced us to another one today, if you'd like to share with the class.
ABB, always be branding. So if you want to have your logos or stuff here, then when you get people on camera and they've got a plain white wall behind them, and I'm thinking, this is a missed opportunity. So this show is branded. You've got green umbrella up there, but at the very start, what I would do is I'd have pop-ups that you would take to physical events, and you'd put the pop-up behind you, and that's absolutely fine. It's great. But so I use a program called ManyCam that allows me to have logos and put them anywhere on screen. So I could put this up here, and I've also got some branded stuff behind me for RecX and the NORAs and so on. Normally what I do, so if I'm dressing the room, I think I forgot to do, is I normally put on my HypnoCube, which is flashing lights, and there's also behind me there's a Tetris type thing that lights up. But again, it just makes it a little bit more interesting. The change in backgrounds is all well and good, but it's slightly inauthentic. And what I also do, I'm just going to show you. So what we're looking at here is my background. Let me just check it. My background is slightly blurred, but I could make it more blurred. When you have a little bit of blur, then it means that the person is sharper on screen. You get that 3D effect, and people pay more attention. So just a tiny amount of blur is good. You can change the backgrounds, and when you change the backgrounds, to pretend you're in a newsroom or whatever, that can be all right, but you always get the kind of fluffing around the edge of their head. So it's really perfect. So on balance, I tend to just do the slight blurring thing.
So is that right? So I don't even know how to ask the question. So have you done that through ManyCam, or are you doing that because you've got a webcam that's allowing you?
No, this is all ManyCam. So on ManyCam is a bit like it's like a mixer desk for multiple inputs. So you can have multiple cameras going on. So if I wanted to show you the view outside in Glasgow today, so that's outside my office window. That's the river.
Wow.
So cool. You can switch to different cameras. I could switch to a camera. This is my desk. So if I was doing an unboxing video, then I could be showing this here. Look at these.
I know, he's so cool.
Get your credit card out, Christina, now.
I love it.
The thing is, it's like I want to buy it all. I want it all. I just won't know what to plug into what.
Do you know though? So ManyCam it costs like $29, and if you know how to use PowerPoint, you know how to use ManyCam. It really is idiot proof. You see people talking all the time about using OBS, and OBS is great, but frankly, you need to have a lot of time to pick up all the ways of using it. ManyCam is really popular with teachers, especially in the States. So teachers who are doing online teaching and they want to be able to draw on screen or put daft ears on themselves or whatever. It's really popular with them, but it has all the tools that you would use to do all of these things, and you can stream live from this out to elsewhere. I could have a call on Skype, and I could make a grid of 6 people on screen, and I could then feed that out in a stream to Crowdcast or to Zoom or Facebook or any other place. So there's a multitude of things that you can do on there. You can have different microphones, you can have different instruments, you can play music. I was showing you how you can play music earlier on. So it's essentially a big mixing desk. It's a bit like being a DJ, but it's idiot proof. Which I think
it's cool. When you flicked it outside, it reminded me of this morning, and then they go, "Oh, we'll just go to Holly down by the Thames," and then there she is. You need to do that. You're missing a trick.
Yeah. Well, so one of the cool things that you can do is you can put on your lower thirds. So this sort of thing, where you can have your name coming up, or you can have different messages on it in different styles. So this sort of thing you can customize to say whatever you want it to say, and again, you can get really quite funky with it.
That's cool. Yeah, there's loads that you can do with that. Christina, you need to get that.
I know, but the thing is, I need it's just too many buttons for me, and I need one of you guys. I need one of you guys to just be the control. And I think this is the thing. This is where, when I've been on panels and things, and Stephen sort of, played role of moderator, I guess we'll call it. It's I just don't understand how you can. And Amanda, you've experienced it as well, when you're kind of in the green room waiting for Stephen to bring you on screen and that kind of thing. Little Stephen there. It's like, I just don't know how you're able to keep it all together. I can just about lead this conversation. I've got LinkedIn open on the iPad in case anyone comments or whatever, so I can do a little bit of something there. But as soon as I need to type a message, I'm like that, typing the message and I'm here, guys, I'm here. And when Louise is doing a show, Louise Trines, when she's doing a show, she is continually flipping between LinkedIn and Facebook, where it's also streaming out to, and checking what people are saying. I can't do that. I would lose my train of thought. I would forget what I was doing. If I'm hosting a show and it's just me and one other person, I do think that I need to pay attention to that person. So on a show like that, I'll do almost none of these things because I'm trying to listen. And if they give an answer and I haven't heard what it is, and then say something that shows that I wasn't listening, I look like a complete moron. So you only do it when you absolutely have to.
or when it is really going to benefit and it's easy to do. You don't want to look as if you're checking out all the buttons to do it. So I'm literally doing these things by just clicking the mouse, and I've got a screen over here that's got ManyCam on, and I can switch these things on and off, like little Stevie there. He's an annoying little guy sometimes.
I love little Stevie. He's great.
Yeah. So, one on each shoulder, a devil and an angel. To tell you what to do.
Yeah.
So, Mark, are you getting any ideas with this stuff? Are you kind of like, is it? I need to rephrase what I was going to say then, and I'm struggling to. But I was basically mumble. Creative juices, are they flowing?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things you get lost in, trying to play with everything.
I was doing a thing recently with a company who they wanted their management team to be able to give better presentations when they're on shows like this, and I was giving them a bit of training on how they could do it. And with each person, they wanted to do slightly different things. So I said, right, disregard all of the other functionality in ManyCam. Let's just use the one or two tools that are going to be handy for you. So it might be they're giving a presentation and they want to. So let me just see if I've got the right thing. So if they want to give a presentation where they've got the presentation in a little box to one side. So if I had this and I click this presentation to go on, start the presentation, then why is that not showing there? Then you've got me on screen, you've got the presentation on screen, and you can walk your way through what's going on at the same time. So if that was the thing they wanted to do, then it's just a step forward from the regular sitting in front of the screen and switching to the whole screen being their PowerPoint. So they can be in a bubble, or they can be on screen, or the presentation can be in a bubble. So being able to do those things with just a couple of clicks just adds an extra dimension to what you're doing, and it keeps the attention of your audience a bit more, where they're seeing something they've not seen before.
I guess it's Stephen, like you said, it's kind of that, if you know how to use PowerPoint, 'cause if we all rewind back to the very first time we might have given a presentation and had to kind of talk and click through slides, it can feel really overwhelming. But then after a while, you're like, yeah, it's fine. It's totally natural just to click a remote button. We're not all Chris Whitty and have someone that can respond when we go, next slide, please. We have to do it ourselves. But so I guess you just become accustomed to doing it. It's just like anything. It's like a little muscle, and before you know it, you can present and you can do that kind of embedding, which looks really cool. But I guess you just kind of start to learn how to do it without really thinking about it.
I learned something new this week on PowerPoint, and people trip over new functions all the time. Lots of folk moan about PowerPoint, say, oh, it's another PowerPoint. Well, you don't have to do PowerPoint the boring way. You can be a little bit more interesting with it. So the thing I learned this week is there's a morph function where you say, imagine you had a photograph of 6 of us on screen, which we are right now. And in the presentation, you wanted it to zoom in on Christina and then zoom in on Emily and then go to Mark. And it moves around like a professional camera. So you get one photograph. You make the one slide, you then duplicate that to another slide, and you zoom in to that on the next person, the next person, the next person. So you've got 5 slides, and you then select them all, choose transitions morph, and it automatically just moves the focus from one to the other. And it's the coolest thing, and it's really simple. But when you're doing that in a presentation, then people are, oh, how did you do that? That's really cool. And if you're getting their attention, they're listening to your message.
Like kind of stuff.
So I think this is the thing, trying to be interesting right now, when we're like, everyone's like webinar on, all the events have been online and that kind of thing, and you've ended up in that kind of fatigue.
Yeah.
And I know that, if it's something that's under half an hour, I try and do it without any slides now, just because I think I can be animated enough that I think I'm going to hold more attention with it just being me than having me and slides. And I'll, it's funny because Stephen, you and Louise, you're always like, where's your whiteboard, Christina? And I probably only do it for those events. I think like Paul's in the audience on Facebook. I don't think he sort of knows me for the whiteboard in the same way, but it's doing something different.
But so you're a better speaker than me, Christina. You can speak to an audience for longer and more fluidly than me. When you're speaking, you seem to know your product really well, or whatever your topic is, and you can do half an hour just speaking to the camera and going through the points that you want to hit. And when you're using your whiteboard, your flip chart, it's unique. It really stands out, and everyone else is turning up with their their dull old PowerPoints, and there's you turning to the flipboard, and it's unique. It stands out. And whatever you're doing, if you're known for it, and it might just be a little bit different from the norm, but if it's different from the norm at all, then it's going to be memorable.
So how do we keep things as a presenter?
Yeah.
So the next shift with this stuff is going to be like hybrid events and that kind of stuff, and so how do we kind of keep that innovation going, I guess, and it still be accessible?
Yeah. Well, at hybrid events, the first thing you try and think is, right, if we had a conference and there was someone on stage, could we film that person and stream that live? And I think that could work. But actually, a better thing, because people won't pay attention for as long when they're they're watching from home or an office rather than being there. I think a better thing is if you got some sort of time with the speaker before or just after their talk, and they're all wired and they're able to rattle through quickly what they were talking about, then that sort of thing would be better. If you were able to physically go to someone's stand and say, look, I'm here, want to speak to the audience at home, tell me about your product, that sort of thing, and you've got them animated and standing up and doing their thing, that would be, from my point of view, that would be a great thing. So having hybrid events, people want to have a sense that they're there. And one of the biggest things that's good to see in conferences is going around the the conference room. So being mobile, having you can do it all on your phone, walking around with that, and you've got a microphone to speak to people. Then that'd be the way to do it. You want people to get the impression that they're there and wish that they were there. But equally, you're giving them something that the people who are there are not getting, which is maybe more direct communications with the speakers and the exhibitors and so on.
Yeah, it's really interesting point. So I guess the focus is, we think about events and attending them, and we're kind of like, what's the content we're going to bring? What's the value we're going to bring through that content? But actually, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not thinking of this previously, because my previous life was within the event industry, but it's like the experiential aspect of the event is actually, from a hybrid perspective, is probably on par with the content itself, from what you're saying.
Yeah. So I used to, years ago, I used to manage bands, and I realized I managed bands because I was a terrible drummer. And I still wanted to hang around with musicians. But I realized that my favorite place in the world is being side stage, is having a peek behind what's going on, behind the stage, or being in rehearsals, or seeing people getting ready to do the thing. So if I was doing a hybrid event now, then I'd really love that side of the stage view, where you look out and you can see the audience, or you look over there, you can see the speaker, or you can see the speaker before they go on, and they're, speakers are inevitably, their backside's doing this, and when they come off, they're, oh, that was amazing. So that sort of insight, that sort of peek behind the scenes, would be great to show, that no one else normally gets to see. It's usually, very polished and very professional, but we're all human. So if you can show the human side of things, then that's a great thing as a bonus.
Yeah, I remember the first time speaking at the Rec Expo at Olympia, and it was like, I was all mic'd up, and I was like, my stomach was in my mouth. Yeah, I was just like, I came off the stage literally bouncing, and I was just like, I can't believe I did that, and not only have I just done it, but like done it, and just like actually, oh my god, I can speak. So yeah, as we were saying that, I was really thinking about that one. Mark is in a band. Now, I'm not suggesting that, Stephen, you suddenly come in as the new manager for the band, but
I think we're beyond a manager.
More like a therapist at this point, hey?
Yeah.
That's it. Got my shakers.
You got the job.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, I mean, because there have been like online gigs and that kind of stuff. And...
Sorry.
I love the props. What we didn't have enough of in online presentations.
Oh yeah, I never have any props.
Yeah. We all need a kazoo, I think.
I can't play the kazoo.
I did have one. I don't know where it's gone.
I haven't got.
Anyway, sorry.
Like that.
If only I had the cello in the office,
That's a bit highbrow for us, isn't it?
Speak for yourself, Lady Jane. But yeah, like, so, I mean, we talk a lot about sort of business related things. Obviously, we talk about business related events, but stuff like gigs and things like that. Do you think there will be a continuation of kind of like online gigs and that kind of thing? Mark, you haven't done anything online, have you?
No, because we haven't got a manager to actually kick us into gear to actually do anything.
do you know, though, I really hope that there'll be more online gigs, that sort of thing will happen, because what I know right now is well, it's quite costly to put on gigs. You need a certain number of people to cover the costs, and if you're only allowed, certain numbers in venues, then that's going to be tricky. If I went to King Tut's in Glasgow, then it only pays if they have an excess of, and it's a little tiny venue, but if they have an excess of 300 people buying booze, then that's what makes it worthwhile, and they can pay the bands. But doing online gigs, you can have a band that had, say there was a band in the 80s that had one hit, and I have a fascination with one hit wonders, but they've got a thin veneer of fans right across the country who would love to see, I don't know, Kajagoogoo or whoever. But if they put on
love to see Kajagoogoo?
Yeah, but if they put on a gig or a tour, then they might struggle to sell tickets for them all. So they could set up a gig and run it online and have 1,000 people. So Mid-Year, for example, on Crowdcast, Mid-Year has a show every Saturday night. Oh, there you go, Paul Green. So Mid-Year on Crowdcast on a Saturday night. You need to join the Patreon, and I think it's £10 a month or something. And he puts on a show from effectively his shed. He's got a studio with all his stuff, and he's got multiple cameras going on. And he's got a really cool thing, which is a tracker thing. So a camera's on this tracker, and it slides across very slowly. So it gives that sort of three-dimensional effect. But it's a whole new, different experience, and it's really quite intimate. But equally, you could have a thing where you've got a band on a stage, and there's no one else in the venue, but the band are literally on a stage, and you can be filming that, and still zooming in for the guitar solos. So long as you've got the good audio mix, then that's the key. But yeah, online events, I think there should be hybrids. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
I know with the Brits this week, because I'm still down with the kids. I watched it. It was like bingo of who I'd heard of and who I hadn't. But they obviously, that was the kind of first real in-person music event, and it was quite widely publicised. It was part of the government's programme. Yeah. I think they got a little bit sick because some of it was pre-recorded. So like Coldplay opened the show and they were on a barge outside. That was pre-recorded. I think the Elton John one was pre-recorded. But you kind of, people, it's so hard. The amount of backstage on and off scene changes, they couldn't have the people. So even though they were getting a little bit of stick for it, there were equally people standing up going, do you know how hard it is to change the camera angles, do the scene changes, and how many people that takes? Yeah. Of course, it couldn't be completely live just yet. We're not there. So, yeah, it's a perfect example of a hybrid event.
Yeah. And everyone's learning as they go along. Everyone's learning what works, what doesn't work, and what the audience will respond to. So, it's always a work in progress.
I think it's an exciting kind of... It's an exciting arena to be part of at the minute, and just sort of seeing what people are doing, because there are, you've got big, big brands, big events with massive budgets, and then you've got, little old us doing stuff, and it's, I think there's just so much creativity coming to the fore.
Yeah. Oh, let me tell you about something, actually. So this is a tool that I came across literally yesterday. So it's a company in Edinburgh called Storm Ideas, and they build a number of apps, but their main app that they have is called Hail 2. So Hail 2, I don't suppose the audience out there will see it if I put it here, but I'll put the link in here. So hail2.com is the app, and they sell that to program and film producers for the stars in the show to publicize an upcoming TV series. So what they'll do is they put together a package of a short video with overlays of this, that, and the other, upcoming and so on, and they send that through Hail2 to the person who is going to tweet it out from their own Twitter account or their own other social media accounts and Instagram and so on. So it's a way of getting the people involved as part of your marketing. And I know that Green Umbrella is all about the marketing, as part of the marketing in advance of an event. So it might be a TV show, it might be a film, it might be a conference coming up, it might be something that you're doing with your business, it might be that you've got a webinar coming up. So this could absolutely be used where you've got the people who are going to be involved in an event pushing it out to their networks. And one of the biggest problems that you always have is you say, well, can you promote the event? And they go, but what do I do? What do I say? Where do I get the logo and the materials and so on? But if you can do it all for them and send them it through an app, and all they have to do is click, and it's out, then that's brilliant. So Hail2 is the app, and I don't think they're using it for business other than for films and TVs. But I know the guy who's the ops manager there, and I want to speak to him about maybe using that in business for marketing in this way, where you want everyone who's on your staff or selected people of them to be part of the marketing push for that. And it might be events, it might be any number of other things.
Awesome.
Employer brand.
Yeah. So, I was just going to move the conversation onto sort of RecX and speaking and that kind of stuff, but since you've mentioned employer branding, maybe let's talk about that. Yeah. So it wasn't on my list of things. So as always, we just go off script. That's why we don't bother having much of a plan in the first place. But, employer branding is really interesting at the minute, because I think that we've had a year where a lot of brands have done great things. Some brands have done some awful things as well. Yeah. And we're kind of getting to a place now where, certainly within the recruitment industry, there's conversations around, are we about to hit a wave of a lot of candidates coming onto the market because stability is back? They're kind of ready to make it. They've maybe been a bit pissed off with the way they've been treated over the last 12 months or so. Yeah. They haven't moved because they've been on furlough and they've got that stability, but all of that's coming to the end, and what they're going to do now, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's quite an interesting time in terms of recruitment, especially from an in-house recruitment perspective, and for employers thinking about employer branding. For us, and probably even looking on the screen, like me, Stephen and Amanda, we talk about, we get into conversations about EB, employer branding, and EVP, very similar thing. And it's like, it's just second nature. It's part of our world. Mm. But if we're talking to someone that goes, what the hell are you on about? How would you define these things? And what should the approach be in your eyes?
Your employer brand is your reputation. In the old days, we called it your reputation. A company might have a great reputation for the products that they make and sell, but a terrible reputation as an employer. I wouldn't want to go and work there, but they make great TVs or cars or whatever. So your reputation is really what your employer brand is, and you can get much more sophisticated than that. But that's, when you boil it down, it's essentially that, what people are, how they're talking about you. Yes, right now. Well, so actually, go back about a year ago, in April last year, at the start of lockdown, I wrote an article on LinkedIn about what I thought might happen in the coming. I thought it was going to be a couple of months, but it's taken a bit longer than that. What I thought might happen, and one of the things was that so many people are working from home, so many people will want to continue working from home, or at least have an element of that. And more than that, what people are going to do, because they've had a big punctuation point in their work experience, is reconsider or reassess the relationship with the company they're working for. So people who were previously totally loyal and weren't thinking about working elsewhere, were completely happy with what they did. They've been brought up short. They might have been furloughed. They might have been asked to keep coming into work. They might have been asked to not come into work. They might have been laid off. And each of the people in those groups will be thinking, why was I furloughed, or why was I laid off, or why wasn't I laid off, but I still have to come into work and do the thing? Because there are some jobs where you still have to come in and do the thing. If you're working in Asda, for example, then shops have to keep selling people food. So when you're splitting apart your workforce in that way, then everyone's thinking, is this the place for me? Is this the job I want to be doing? Am I getting what I want out of this? Am I paid enough? Am I not paid enough? All of those things. And whenever people have reason to think about that, then their bond with their employer is a little weaker, and that makes them susceptible to being approached from elsewhere. But in the past year, very few people have been willing to go elsewhere. The circulation has been, very, very low. People in recruitment talk about the circulation of candidates in the marketplace. Usually it's the case that someone has to leave a job for there to be a job to be filled. So there's that daisy chain going on. So like blood in the body, if there isn't any circulation, then you're not doing too well. So more circulation, the better. And there's been a pent-up demand of people thinking, well, maybe I should consider going elsewhere. So now we're getting to the point where, it's the back to work thing. Companies are deciding, right, what do we want people to come back into? What are we going to do? Right, everyone who's on furlough, you're unfurloughed. And employers need to be holding their existing staff close because they are susceptible to going elsewhere. They could call it, I've seen some people talking about the big resign, where much more people than normal are going to be putting in the notice, but they'll only be doing that if they've got a job to go to. But if there are lots of employers who are perking up and saying, right, we really want to take on 20 or 40 or 500 new staff, then that could all happen in short order. So circulation could suddenly go through the roof in the next short space of time. And employers need to be aware, not only to be thinking about hiring, but to be thinking about holding on to the people they already have and hold them close. And it might be looking at salaries. It might be looking at working conditions. It might be, if you're working from home, this is what we're going to do for you. We're going to lock you in somehow because we don't want to lose you. But when employers get a resignation letter and they think, oh no, we don't want to lose Mary, she's fabulous, let's make her a counter offer. Well, now's the time to make the counter offer before she puts her notice in, because that's much more sincere, that's much more genuine. That's saying, actually, we've thought about it and we've realized that you're really important to this company. We want to do this so that you feel that this is the place to stay, and do that before they start looking elsewhere. Because once people start looking elsewhere, their brain's already switched off and they feel that they're just counting the days until they start working somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Have I said too much?
No. And I was going to say something, but Amanda, it looked like you were going to dive in as well.
No, I just, Stephen was saying, oh, I'm not sure I could, speak for 30 minutes or something, but we're all kind of just wrapped in what you're saying, just kind of like nodding along going, that's so true. And we can all identify with employers, whether we've worked there or we've heard about, friends or family moaning, kind of going, they just, the things that employers describe as a benefit, free fruits. Oh, now you can work from home, flexible working. Should be the norm now. It's like, come on, just look after your people as well. And it just absolutely kind of nodding in agreement with everything you were saying.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think from a and a lot of what you were talking about is very much from an internal perspective, but I think from an external, looking at it externally, when people are using their employer branding, reflecting that in their marketing activities, we've worked with a few recruiters helping them with their clients. And it's almost trying to get people to understand that it's not like you don't do your commercial marketing activity and then your employer branding stuff. It should actually, you use your people to sell your product or to sell your service. And actually in doing that, you're celebrating the people in the business, getting their buy-in. And it's not like we're a great employer because, you know, this is part of our CSR policy. And, you know, I think it's about getting those nuances right as well.
Yeah. We had, you mentioned RecX before. There's a big logo behind me. We had a speaker at the first RecX, and I'm forgetting her name now. It's terrible, but she was a great speaker. She was from Virgin Airlines, and they'd previously been a winner at the NORAs. So she was talking about their recruitment process being as red as their advertising for the organization. So Virgin logos obviously everywhere, but previous to the years before, they'd had a relatively neutral hiring process that didn't have branding throughout, and they didn't tie in what people's public perception of the company was when they carried out recruitment. And again, getting back to employer branding, you have one whether you like it or not. You have a reputation whether you like it or not. And everyone's employer brand, they might try and manage it to an extent, but it's out there. People are thinking about you. But if you have a formal brand that you've decided this is what represents us, this is how we talk about ourselves, this is how we're branded online and everywhere else, the employer brand that companies will have had 18 months ago will be totally different today. So marketing teams, employer branding teams, recruitment, hiring teams, TA managers will have to be rewriting, well, this is our employer brand now, bearing in mind how they've dealt with the pandemic over the past 12 months, whether they've done good things, whether they've not done good things, whether they've had to lay people off, whether they've been hiring like crazy, you know, if you're in retail, and taking those things into account and being able to say, this is us as a company, you know, kind of warts and all, but we're great at these things. We're not so good at those things. We know that we're getting better in these areas, and being able to honestly represent yourselves. And that's why I bang on about video a lot, because video is a great way of getting that across. Get your hiring managers on screen. Get people who have just joined the company. Even get people who used to work there on screen saying, yeah, I don't work there anymore, but it was fantastic. And it's a great learning ground for this, that, and the other. Your employer brand has so many strands to it. So, and it changes every week. So in the past year, everyone's brand is different, and everyone will be rewriting their employer brand documents just to let's all agree this is who we are, and this is how we represent ourselves.
Yeah, and I think we've got at least another 12 months before that actually settles down into anything, because it's, you know, we're, you know, just our business. We're making decisions. Yeah, hopefully this afternoon we'll make a definitive decision as to when we're all coming, when everyone's back in the office, on what terms, how that's going to work, because you know, I don't make decisions. I just kick the can down the road as far as possible until someone else makes it for me. But you know, it's, you know, if I was going to put an employer branding document together for us today, it would probably be very different on Monday morning. And I think it, you know, obviously, you know, bigger businesses, global brands, I think we've got another 12 months before things really settle down on that front.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we're not far off the hour. I do want to make a comment though, because like who would try ringing Green Umbrella on a Thursday between 12 noon and 1 o'clock? I mean, come on, we've only been doing this for a year. But I think the fact we've had 2 phone calls in the last 15 minutes is either something's really going wrong somewhere. We probably should have got the phone.
Do you know what it'll be? It'll be complaints about me and my accent. I can't get a word of what he's saying.
I'm sure that would be the case. But it's really, we're seeing a real kind of every month at the minute, we're seeing things getting busier and busier within the world of recruitment, and more inquiries. On the agency side of things, more and more stuff coming online. So I think there's great things to come this year. And obviously towards the end of the year, we have the 21st NORAs.
Absolutely.
So
we didn't have the event that we wanted to last November, so it was all online. But this year, hopefully, we can pull out the stops and have the 21st live in London. in Sway. It's not your regular type of awards event. There's a lot of alcohol involved. There are no black ties and ball gowns, and it's designed for networking rather than being stuck at a table of the same 10 people you came with.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a networking event. And Amanda, would you like to finish my sentence for me?
No, I'm so pretty quiet on this one, to be honest. I was a bit. It's very sociable. Let's put it that way.
Amanda was very, very sociable at the 2019.
Amanda, you actually both of you. I seem to remember were singing with the band at one point.
Yes, there were photos.
Yeah. There were photos. We were the backing singers. Yeah, another one of my finest hours.
I was very briefly drumming. So that's.
Yes.
I hope the videos have been lost of that, but my arm was twisted.
It's definitely one of the highlights of the calendar, and the thing is, it rewards people for doing good work, and it's the whole process. I was very flattered to have asked to be part of the judging process last year,
Absolutely.
And it's I think it is the thing with awards. There are some awards where you've got it because it's the phone again. But there are some awards that are there where it's just a case of you bought your table, you paid X number of thousands, and wow, look, I won this award. And then there are other awards that are out there where it's it is judged by industry peers, by the people at the forefront of the industry. I'm trying to find a way of saying it that doesn't make it sound like I think I'm at the forefront of the industry. But I do think it's one of the most valuable award ceremonies within the world of recruitment. So
the NORAs process this year, as every year, starts late July. We ask for nominations from the public. Let me just fill this over here. We ask for nominations from the public, and each year we normally get about 25,000 nominations. Companies can also register themselves, but what we like to emphasize is that the public are telling us what they like about job boards, recruitment agencies, employers, any online resource that's in the recruitment process, and we get the feedback from the candidates as well. So in doing that, we then have two sets of judges. One decides, of the companies that are nominated, who should be finalists. So we'll whittle them down to 5 or 8 finalists in each category. And then we have a second set of judges who decide of the finalists who are going to be the winners. And the judge's job is to judge it from a candidate's perspective. If a job board is amazing value for money, we're not interested, because candidates, they don't know how much it costs to advertise a job. If a candidate experiences it, then we're going to judge it. If they don't, then it's of no importance to us. So the NORAs is working on behalf of job seekers. The NORAs is also, through doing that, letting everyone know this is what good looks like. And hopefully the companies who are building new recruitment websites, when they decide what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, they'll take inspiration from companies who have been finalists and winners in the NORAs and follow that lead. And that way, things get better for everyone all round.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not much to add to that. It's perfect. So if you're listening to that and going, oh, that sounds really interesting, get in touch with Stephen. It's not just for recruitment agencies. So it's like anyone with careers pages and that kind of stuff. But yeah, we need to wrap this up, or we could just carry on talking all day. But we try and keep it under an hour. So Stephen, tell people, because you've got so many things going on with the NORAs and RecX and the Going Live stuff and Recruiter Zone. Yeah. Where do you want people to catch up with you? Where should we kind of hunt you down?
On every single social media platform, my username is Stephen O'Donn, Odonn, and with Stephen with a PH. So LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, that's my username. But find me on LinkedIn, and I'll more than happily connect. And if anyone wants help, pointers on anything to do with recruitment, video, recruitment technology and so on, then more than happy to. I just finished a report yesterday for an employer on which ATS to use. So I did a huge survey of ATSs out there. So that sort of thing, that sort of consultancy is the stuff that I do, as well as things like the NORAs and video.
Awesome. Awesome. So we have a little ritual, Stephen, that we have to do just before we say goodbye. Yeah. So
is it a song? Are we all singing a song?
No, but maybe we should do that. We should do
Yeah.
I think we need a little Stevie in it though as well.
Yeah, can we have a little Stevie? And then
we
we just need to do a little wave at the camera. So Emily gets a screenshot.
Ready?
Right,
Go. Perfect.
Awesome.
We've all done that.
She does whinge if someone's like squinting or whatever.
I get one shot.
That's it. So we're all done. Yes. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a lot of fun,
You're very welcome.
Expected.
My absolute pleasure.
So much value in there. Thanks everyone that's tuned in. And yeah, we'll be back next Thursday for Green Umbrella Live Lunch, Thursday, 12 noon, Facebook, YouTube, my LinkedIn account. Have an amazing week, and we will catch you all later. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Adios.